The millionaire died with less cash in his wallet than the average person spends on coffee in a week. And that wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part was the notebook found beside him. On the first page, written in thick black ink, were 8 chilling words. Your future was never stolen. You bought it away. Nobody understood what he meant until investigators opened the pages and discovered thousands of tiny purchases carefully listed next to impossible numbers. A $4 drink, a $20 food delivery, a weekend shopping trip, a phone upgrade, streaming subscriptions, luxury sneakers. Every expense had one terrifying calculation beside it, not what it cost that day, but what it would have become if it had stayed invested. The total wasn't thousands, it wasn't even hundreds of thousands. It was millions. Suddenly, that notebook wasn't just evidence, it became a warning. Because every number inside represented a decision almost everyone watching has already made today. Somewhere across the city, Ethan slammed his alarm off for the 3rd time that morning. 27 years old, ambitious, hard-working, and convinced he was doing everything right. He had a decent job, paid his bills on time, and dreamed of becoming financially free before 40. Yet every month, his bank account somehow ended exactly where it started. "Where does all my money go?" he whispered while staring at another disappointing balance. The answer wasn't obvious because financial disasters rarely arrive wearing a mask. They arrive disguised as convenience. $5 here, $12 there, $49.99 because it was on sale. One-click purchases that took seconds to make but years to recover from. That afternoon, Ethan met his childhood friend Noah for lunch. Noah drove the same old car he'd owned for nearly a decade. His watch looked cheap. His phone was 3 years old. Even his shoes showed signs of wear. Ethan couldn't resist smiling. "Man, when are you finally going to enjoy your money?" Noah laughed and took another bite of his sandwich. "I do enjoy it." Ethan looked around the ordinary restaurant. "This?" Noah leaned closer. "No, my future." Ethan laughed because it sounded ridiculous, but Noah didn't. There was something unsettling about the confidence in his eyes. Before leaving, Noah pulled out his phone and showed Ethan a simple investment app. The balance flashed across the screen for barely 2 seconds before he locked it again. Ethan's smile disappeared. The number was higher than Ethan's entire annual salary. "How?" Ethan asked quietly. Noah shrugged. "Nothing exciting." Ethan refused to believe that answer. People became wealthy through businesses, lucky investments, inheritance, or impossible opportunities. Nobody became rich by being boring, right? That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. His mind kept replaying those 2 seconds. It wasn't jealousy anymore. It was confusion. The next morning, he made a decision that felt harmless. He opened his banking app and downloaded 12 months of spending history. Coffee shops, fast food, ride shares, online shopping, monthly subscriptions he forgot existed, random impulse purchases at midnight, tiny amounts that never looked dangerous by themselves. He opened a spreadsheet and began organizing everything. After 30 minutes, he stopped typing. His stomach tightened. After an hour, he rubbed his eyes, convinced he had made a mistake. After 2 hours, he realized the mistake wasn't in the spreadsheet. It had been happening every single day. Nearly $14,000 had vanished over the past year without creating anything that improved his future. He couldn't even remember most of what he bought. He walked into his kitchen and stared at expensive appliances he rarely used. Closets full of clothes still carrying price tags. Boxes from online orders stacked in the garage. Shelves filled with gadgets that felt exciting for exactly 3 days before becoming invisible. None of them looked valuable anymore. They looked like evidence. Then another thought hit him even harder. If 14,000 disappeared in 1 year, what about 5 years? 10? 20? Ethan opened an investment calculator. He entered the amount he had wasted, added average market returns, and selected the year 2030. The screen loaded for a second before displaying a number that made him physically step back from his desk. That couldn't be right. He refreshed the page. Same answer. He tried again with smaller numbers. Still unbelievable. Tiny daily decisions had quietly erased a future version of himself worth hundreds of thousands of dollars more. He wasn't poor because he didn't earn enough. He was poor because his habits were silently working against him while pretending to reward him. His pulse raced. But then something even stranger happened. Instead of feeling motivated, he felt trapped. Because if small spending habits were powerful enough to destroy wealth, changing them meant fighting an enemy that attacked every single day, every advertisement, every notification, every influencer showing another luxury lifestyle, every flash sale ending in 2 hours, every friend saying, "You only live once," every swipe, every tap, every purchase. Suddenly, it wasn't just about money anymore. It was psychological warfare. Companies weren't competing for his dollars, they were competing for his future. The next morning, Ethan decided to run a simple experiment. He wouldn't buy anything unnecessary for just 30 days. No random online orders, no expensive coffee, no food delivery, no impulse shopping. It sounded easy when he said it out loud. It stopped sounding easy exactly 43 minutes later, when his phone lit up with a limited-time offer that seemed impossible to ignore. Then came another notification, then another. His co-workers invited him to lunch. His favorite brand announced a massive sale. Social media filled his screen with people showing vacations, new cars, designer clothes, and perfect lives that looked just one purchase away. For the first time, Ethan noticed something he had never seen before. The world wasn't asking him to spend money, it was training him to spend without thinking. Every message whispered the same dangerous promise. You'll feel better after this. And for a few minutes, he always did. Until the excitement disappeared and the cycle started again. On day 4, standing outside a store with a product already in his hands, Ethan heard a familiar voice behind him. Still think becoming wealthy is about making more money? He turned around slowly. Noah wasn't smiling this time. He looked straight at the item in Ethan's hands, then into Ethan's eyes, before saying something that would completely change the direction of everything he believed. Ethan slowly placed the box back on the shelf, but Noah didn't look relieved. He looked concerned, almost like someone watching a friend step away from the edge of a cliff without realizing there was another one just a few feet ahead. That purchase isn't your biggest problem, Noah said quietly as they walked outside into the cool evening air. The city glowed with giant digital billboards flashing endless promises of happiness, success, and status. Then what is? Ethan asked. Noah pointed toward the crowded street. Everyone thinks wealth is built when you invest money. That's the biggest lie people believe. Wealth is built before you ever invest a single dollar. It's built in the moment you decide not to waste it. Those words echoed in Ethan's mind long after they parted ways. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about the notebook from the millionaire. Maybe every fortune wasn't created by making brilliant decisions. Maybe it was created by avoiding thousands of terrible ones. The next morning, Ethan did something he had never done before. He tracked every dollar before he spent it. By lunchtime, he noticed something shocking. Nearly every purchase began with an emotion, not a need. Stress made him crave expensive coffee. Boredom pushed him toward online shopping. Feeling left out made him scroll through products he never planned to buy. Celebrating a good day became an excuse for a fancy dinner. A bad day became another excuse. His spending wasn't random. It followed invisible emotional patterns. Once he saw them, he couldn't unsee them. Determined to understand more, Ethan spent the weekend studying the habits of self-made millionaires instead of scrolling through social media. He expected to find stories about impossible luck or genius investments. Instead, he found something far less exciting and far more powerful. Most of them didn't start rich. Many earned average incomes, but almost every one of them treated money differently. While others upgraded their lifestyle every time they got a raise, they upgraded their investments. While friends celebrated promotions with expensive cars, they quietly bought assets. While everyone else chased the appearance of success, they chased ownership. They understood something that advertisements never mention. Looking rich and becoming rich often require opposite decisions. Ethan tested that idea at work on Monday. During lunch, several co-workers gathered around a brand new luxury SUV parked outside the office. "That's success," one of them said proudly as its owner tossed the keys into the air. Everyone admired it. Ethan almost did too. Then he remembered Noah's words. He wondered how many investments had been traded for those monthly payments. How many future opportunities had quietly been sacrificed for a machine that would lose value every single day. A week later, another surprise arrived. Ethan received a performance bonus. Normally, it would have disappeared within days on shopping, restaurants, and a small vacation. This time he paused. His finger hovered over the transfer button as two voices argued inside his head. One whispered, "You earned this, treat yourself." The other asked a much harder question. What if your future self deserves it more? He sat there for nearly 10 minutes before transferring the entire bonus into an investment account. Nothing exciting happened. No fireworks, no applause, no instant happiness. In fact, he felt disappointed. Spending would have felt much better in that moment. Yet something unexpected happened the next morning. For the first time in years, he felt proud of a financial decision after sleeping on it. That feeling lasted much longer than any impulse purchase ever had. Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. Ethan wasn't becoming rich overnight. In fact, his life looked more ordinary than ever. He still drove the same car. He still wore the same clothes. Friends joked that he had become cheap. Some even laughed when he declined expensive weekends away. "Live a little," they told him. Ethan smiled, but said nothing, because he had finally realized something uncomfortable. Societies celebrate spending far louder than saving. Every expensive purchase gets attention. Every smart investment happens quietly. Then one Friday evening, temptation struck harder than ever before. Ethan's favorite tech company released its newest phone, sleeker, faster, better cameras. The advertisements made his current phone suddenly feel ancient, even though it worked perfectly. The launch videos were everywhere. Friends lined up outside stores before sunrise. Social media exploded with unboxing videos. His co-workers couldn't stop talking about it. By lunchtime, Ethan had convinced himself he needed it. He even opened the checkout page. Then he stopped. Instead of clicking Buy Now, he opened another window. He typed in the phone's price, estimated investment returns, and the year 2030. The number that appeared on the screen made his heart race. This wasn't just the cost of a phone anymore. It was the cost of a future opportunity, a future vacation with his family, a future business, a future home. Maybe even financial freedom months earlier than planned. Suddenly, the phone didn't look expensive. It looked unbelievably costly. He closed the page, but the battle wasn't over. It became harder. Friends started asking why he never upgraded anything anymore. His parents worried he was working too hard without enjoying life. Even Noah challenged him one afternoon. "Careful," Noah warned. "Don't confuse building wealth with refusing to live." Ethan frowned. "I thought spending less was the goal." Noah shook his head. "No, spending intentionally is the goal. There's a huge difference." Ethan realized he had started fearing every purchase. That wasn't freedom either. So Noah introduced him to a simple rule. Spend heavily on what genuinely improves your life. Ruthlessly eliminate what doesn't. Ethan tested the idea. He cancelled subscriptions he never used. He stopped buying things to impress strangers, but he still paid for books that expanded his thinking. He joined a fitness program that improved his health. He traveled once that year with his parents and created memories that no investment account could ever replace. For the first time, money felt like a tool instead of an addiction. Then came the day everything changed. Ethan opened his investment account expecting another ordinary update. Instead, the market had crashed overnight. Headlines screamed panic. Billions had disappeared. Friends rushed to sell everything before prices dropped further. Television experts predicted disaster. Social media declared that investing was dead. Ethan watched his own account lose more money in one day than he had ever imagined possible. His hands began to shake. Every instinct told him to escape before it became worse. His phone rang. It was Noah. "Don't open the news," he said immediately. "Too late," Ethan replied. "Good," Noah answered calmly. "Now tell me one thing. Has the future changed? Or just today's price?" Ethan didn't know how to answer. Fear drowned out logic. Every headline demanded action. Every emotion screamed to run. Then Noah said something almost impossible to believe. "I'm buying more." Ethan froze. "Are you crazy?" There was a long silence before Noah quietly revealed a secret that only a handful of people ever truly understand. And once Ethan heard it, he realized the crash threatening to destroy everything might actually be the greatest opportunity of his entire life. "The stock market is the only store where people run away when everything goes on sale," Noah said, his voice steady while every headline around them screamed panic. Ethan stared at the red numbers flooding his screen. It felt impossible to believe that losing money could somehow be good. Every instinct demanded the same reaction. Sell now, stop the pain, protect what's left. Noah asked one simple question. If your favorite house suddenly dropped 30% in price tomorrow, would you refuse to buy it because it became cheaper? Ethan didn't answer. Then why are you afraid of buying pieces of great companies when they're cheaper? That sentence shattered something inside him. For years he had been trained to celebrate discounts on clothes, electronics, and vacations, yet fear discounts in the one place that could actually change his future. He closed every news app, ignored every dramatic prediction, and instead transferred another small amount into his investment account. It wasn't a fortune, it wasn't life-changing, but it was the first time he made a financial decision based on logic instead of emotion. The weeks that followed tested him like never before. The market fell again. Then again, friends who had mocked his old spending habits now mocked his investing. "Still buying?" one co-worker laughed. "You'll lose everything." Another proudly announced that he had sold all his investments and was waiting until things felt safe again. Ethan almost followed him. Almost, but every time doubt crept in, he reopened the spreadsheet that had started this journey. The endless list of forgotten purchases. The food deliveries he couldn't remember. The subscriptions he never used. The gadgets collecting dust. They reminded him that the greatest risk had never been temporary market drops. The greatest risk was spending decades trading his future for moments he couldn't even recall. So he kept going. 1 month became 6, 6 became 12, the panic disappeared. News channels found new crises to chase. Social media moved on to the next trend. Quietly, without celebration, the market recovered. Then it climbed higher, then higher still. Ethan checked his account one ordinary morning before work. For a few seconds he thought there had been a mistake. The losses were gone. Then he realized something even more incredible. Every investment he had made during the crash had grown faster than anything he had bought before it. Fear had almost convinced him to walk away from the biggest opportunity of his life. Years passed, and the changes became impossible to ignore. Ethan wasn't living like a celebrity. He wasn't flying private jets or buying mansions, but something far more valuable had happened. He owned his mornings. He no longer panicked when bills arrived. Unexpected emergencies no longer destroyed his peace of mind. He could help his parents without checking his bank balance first. He could walk away from toxic situations because money no longer controlled every decision. Freedom had arrived so quietly that he almost missed it. Then one afternoon, while cleaning old files from his laptop, he found the spreadsheet that had once made him sick to his stomach. He smiled as he scrolled through the list of forgotten expenses. That version of himself had believed wealth depended on earning more. He now understood that earning more without changing habits simply creates bigger spending. Income can make you comfortable. Habits make you wealthy. Curiosity led him to calculate one final number. He entered every unnecessary dollar he had avoided investing over the past several years, combined it with consistent contributions and average market growth, and projected everything to the end of 2030. The result appeared on the screen. Ethan leaned back in complete silence. The number wasn't just larger than he had imagined, it represented choices. Thousands of invisible decisions that nobody had applauded. Every expensive coffee he skipped because he already had one at home. Every impulse purchase he questioned before clicking buy now. Every raise that increased his investments instead of his lifestyle. Every market crash he survived without panic. Every ordinary day when discipline quietly defeated temptation. None of those moments felt dramatic while they happened. Together, they changed the direction of his life. Months later, Ethan was invited to speak to a group of young professionals who all asked the same question. What's the secret to becoming a millionaire? They expected him to reveal a hidden stock, a revolutionary business idea, or some shortcut nobody else knew. Instead, he pulled out a worn notebook. It wasn't the billionaire's notebook. It was his own. Every page contained 2 columns. The first listed things he wanted to buy, but chose not to. The second showed what those decisions became after investing instead. He held it up and smiled. This notebook made me richer than any luxury purchase ever could. The room fell silent. People think becoming a millionaire requires one massive breakthrough, he continued. Most of the time, it requires thousands of tiny victories that nobody sees. As the audience left, one young man stayed behind. So, what's the first thing I should invest in? Ethan looked at him for a moment before answering. Your ability to delay today's pleasure for tomorrow's freedom. Years later, another notebook would be found on another desk. On its first page were the same 8 words that had started everything. Your future was never stolen. You bought it away. But beneath them, Ethan had added one more sentence for anyone willing to listen. The moment you stop buying the life that looks rich, you finally begin building the life that truly is. And somewhere, someone watching this today will face a tiny financial decision before the day ends. It won't feel important. No dramatic music will play. No one will cheer. No headline will announce it. Yet years from now, when 2030 arrives, that ordinary decision may be the one that quietly separated the person who only dreamed about becoming a millionaire from the one who actually did.